We'll start the show in just a minute, but first, a word from our premier brand sponsor, OwnerPoint.
My name is Talia Lockard. I am the Director of Sales and Marketing at Hostiva. We have about 6,000 properties, 2,000 we full service manage, and about 4,000 we co-host. We've been using OwnerPoint, I want to say, for almost a year now. We're in a lot of markets, right? So teaching each team member how to go source new leads and how to do acquisition and business development could be challenging. So previously we've done things very, very manually prior to using OwnerPoint, and OwnerPoint has made this automated for every market. So OwnerPoint really cut down the time that it took us to do it. Not only the research that it took, but the ability, I want to say we have like 10 plus markets in there to get our team members in it very quickly and utilizing it. It was not difficult at all to implement in our operations, which is what we look at in a software. It was very fast. I would say we talked to the team, and within a week, we had someone on a phone call, we had logins, and we had almost like 1 or 2 trainings set up with different variations of our team members. It was a very quick onboarding and very quick ramp up time in getting started. The tangible benefits that we've seen since using OwnerPoint is obviously increase of time in our workers, right? So, we've gone from essentially maybe only sending a couple hundred letters a week to be able to send about thousands of letters in each area. It's also given us the ability to kind of bring sales and marketing together in a way that we weren't able to do before. I would absolutely recommend OwnerPoint to others, and I have to say I do very, very often because we use it a lot, and it is a tool that works for us. If you were really like, I don't know where to go, I don't have the team, or I don't have the time, or someone who wants to do a lot of data and research, OwnerPoint is really just a more than amazing answer for you.
Ready to start growing your inventory and bringing in new properties? Head over to ownerpoint.io/Alex and Annie to see how they can help your business thrive.
That's ownerpoint.io/Alex-and-Annie, where you can turn leads into long-term relationships and grow your property management business. Now back to the show. Welcome to Alex and Annie, the Real Women of Vacation Rentals. I'm Alex.
And I'm Annie.
And we are joined today with Ari from Extenteam. Ari, it's so good to see you.
Likewise. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you. We've had a couple of people from Extenteam on with us before and know a little bit about what you guys do, but we'd love to hear it from your perspective, from the person that founded the organization, kind of learn about your journey within vacation rentals and hospitality in general.
Sure thing. So Extenteam was really like a side gig for me. I was a property management company owner like in California since 2009, managed about 200 plus properties in several states. And when I was on HomeAway's software division's advisory board, one of my fellow peers came to me and asked for my help. They were having a hard time finding college educated and trained hospitality workers. So I told him sure thing, I'll help you out. And I was just running it through my side LLC just to help him out. And then COVID really accelerated our growth. So I switched sides, and rather than being a property manager, I became a vendor. And it's been an exciting journey, I'm able to apply what I've learned as a property manager to serve our customers and fellow property managers in the ecosystem.
Awesome. Well, that makes 2 of us. So I certainly understand it's different when you have the insight of being on both sides, right? And then the products that you guys come out with, and you just have that understanding of what really is needed and how it's actually going to get executed on. I feel like we talk to at least one person a week that's using Extenteam. It seems like everybody is using you guys now, which is great.
Puts a smile on my face.
Yeah, it's great. And over the last few months, Annie and I have had the opportunity to interview some of your clients that we've had, different testimonials for them in some past shows, and just been really great to hear from their perspective how much Extenteam services have helped them optimize their operations and run more profitably. And we all know at the end of the day, human capital is the most important capital, but it's also really hard to find. And to be able to deliver on a professional experience, it's tough to have a full support staff there all the time. So I think what you guys have built is really great.
One of the things that we've talked about, and Alex just touched on again, the challenge of finding staffing. And so coming out of COVID, people moved all over the country. And I think it opened people's minds to the ability to have staff everywhere. essentially. So they weren't as reticent to take on some of these virtual assistants or these assistants living in other areas. Do you feel that for you guys that the growth in that is continuing to happen, or is it slowing down along with the companies that are saying, oh no, we need people back in the office? Do you think that the back to the office is hitting the hospitality as much as it's hitting the corporate world?
Excellent question. I believe in like a more in the middle approach. At Extenteam, we have some corporate positions where we require people to be stateside, like in an office as well. So I'm a believer of like some positions, as long as it could be measured correctly, the output could be measured correctly, like it could be done from anywhere. Not for every company. It's definitely not a good fit for every company. But for most of our clients, it's proven to be successful for several reasons. One, property managers, especially in destination resorts, they have such a hard time finding local talent. And we fill that gap. At the end of the day, like what the guests need, there needs to be taken care of, whether it's people stateside sitting in a physical office at a cubicle at the destination or in a different state or in a different country. Like the guest cares about getting responses to their communication. And that's the problem that we solve. We're not really seeing a slowdown per se, like in terms of growth, but we're seeing perhaps like a change on why people are choosing us. I would say that during COVID, people used to come to us because some states it was impossible to find local workers. Now, like we see people coming to us because they realize that, and it's not fair to stereotype and generalize, but some people come to us because they're having a hard time retaining their local talent at the rates that they can afford to pay. So people come to us to increase their employee retention rates, and they don't want to hire like another college student or a temp for the season and have to find someone else and train them from the get go. So the logic and the reasoning behind why people choose us is changing, I would say.
Does this happen when you get clients, though, that they need somebody, they know that they need additional services, but they don't know where to begin of like, how do I even take myself out of the business to write down all the things that I need to do? Like, just curious if that you guys kind of end up being kind of more like a therapist, counselor, kind of to get them like in line on those things.
100%. That's why like we have a partner success team and they do a phenomenal job, like literally like understanding our partners' needs. Every partner is like slightly different, right? We work with large companies where they have their SOPs like written out in a knowledge base like a Confluence or like Notion. And then we also work with very smart and intellectual people, they're good at hospitality, but they're not necessarily like they never worked at a corporate job, or like they're like good at hospitality and the day-to-day operations, but they're not really good at documenting their processes or setting up processes. They're just winging stuff and they're running around like their heads chopped. That's where like our partner success and onboarding processes come in, where we work with them, try to understand their business needs, and rather than just throwing a body at the problem, we strategize with them to come up with systems and processes so that they can run their businesses more efficiently.
Right. It's like everything's in your head. They know how they're doing everything, but it's like a lot of, legacy older companies, they've just never taken the time to really document that out. But yeah, I'm sure that once they start working with you guys, it just kind of be a big anxiety relief in a way of like, okay, now this is something that's streamlined and I've got people that are actually going to be able to follow, that SOP and that bill of how it should be done. So
Yeah,
really
like
cool.
back to what you asked earlier, like I would also say like that some clients, like some partners, like choose us because they just need additional staff, right? Like maybe like a large company out of Florida with a few hundred units, they know that they need four more like reservation agents or guest services team members. On the other hand, like some people choose us because of a lifestyle decision. They no longer want to be picking up the phone in the middle of the night, giving guests like check-in instructions or Wi-Fi codes like that they've emailed to the guests 8 times already. Like they just want to spend time with their families. They want to be able to like focus more on their hobbies. Like we're seeing more and more operators like using us for those reasons as well.
Goes back to the conversation we always have about you want to work on your business, not in your business. And if you can fill in these positions, it allows you to go out there and think bigger about what your business can be. And I think we're seeing a lot of people who are diversifying beyond just property management, like, whether they're going into real estate or they're going into flipping homes, or maybe they're going into local attractions, those type of things. I mean, I think what you guys are doing is offering them the ability to breathe and grow their business in different directions.
Yeah. And I guess like it's always like, as an entrepreneur myself, like it's a constant challenge, like to step away from working in your business and on your business. EOS coach Brad like helped me a lot, like for me to like step away from the day to day. And sometimes I still find myself like on this operational Slack channels adding comments, but I believe it's better like if one doesn't spend their like energy on the day-to-day operations and growing their business to achieve their goals. Otherwise, it's, in my opinion, at least for me, it's not sustainable like to do everything on your own. You just need to have support.
Yeah. And you're treading water and not really ever advancing when you go that route. But I think one thing that's interesting too about how you've built the company, I mean, you guys just focus on the vacation rental industry, right? As far as the workers that you have.
So we have like a small multi-family traditional rental division where we work with a handful of publicly traded real estate investment trusts, but 95% of our business is coming from vacation rental, short-term rental operators.
And the people that you hire, did they have any knowledge of it ahead of time, or do you guys just really focus on training them so that they become kind of experts in this?
I would say like it's a combination, both in Latin America as well as in the Philippines, where we typically source our talent from, as well as in Mexico. We built a reputation for the short-term rental industry workers, hospitality workers as well, where we pay above average salaries. We take care of their mental health packages, their health insurance. We take care of our team members. And as a result, people refer their friends and colleagues to us. So we already have like a pool of hospitality trained team members. But in case like we have like an influx of like demand and we can't source people that have short-term rental experience, we've partnered up with Kennedy Training Network. Doug helped us curate our Extenteam University along with some other coaches. So we train the basics and like differences between like American culture and different cultures and so on. So we do a little bit of both.
That's really important.
We'll be back in just a minute after a word from our premier brand sponsor, Boom.
My name is Chet Persad. My company name is KFE Management. Our location is South Florida primarily, and number of properties is around 70. With so many homes, it's hard to manage all of the guest complaints. It's hard to manage all of the feedback, good or bad, and then hard to manage the actual work that needs to be done in a way that everybody can access it and see what is outstanding and then what has been completed. The second thing was the maintenance. I think Boom has filled a huge gap. At one point, we had 7 maintenance folks working for us, constantly moving, not necessarily effectively or efficiently. So through Boom, we were able to reduce our overhead to 3. We're much better at managing the homes in terms of maintenance because the ticketing system makes it very easy. Our finance team, they like the financial tools, the analytics tools, because it creates a very clean, easy to look at view that can give you a quick, like within a minute, you know what's going on. So my first impression of Boom, and instinctively, I was like, I don't know if it's going to be worth it because I have so many people that will have to change habits that we've built over years. Luckily, I was wrong. They definitely were able to adapt quickly because the user interface with Boom is very straightforward. We weren't looking for a solution because we didn't realize we had a problem. So during the discussions with Booms, we saw a lot of the efficiencies that could be applied that just made our lives a little bit easier. Would I refer Boom to friends and colleagues? Absolutely. I've already done it just because it has made our life easier and it has made us more effective as a property manager.
Head over to boomnow.com to see a demo of this revolutionary software, and be sure to include that you heard about Boom on the Alex and Annie podcast. Our listeners receive 50% off onboarding fees, and the first month is free. Go to boomnow.com and see for yourself how AI is revolutionizing the future of property management systems.
The team I work with at NextPax, we're based all over the world, and we have people in Europe, and I'm sourcing some people in Latin America. And it is interesting culturally how just from the day-to-day coaching your teams, like how different countries or, or just like they just take and receive feedback in a different way, and you have to know how to approach it so that you're not insulting them, or in the reverse, you're not giving them the information that they need. So I think it's really important that you have a diverse strategy that can handle multicultural teams. I did want to ask, from the property management standpoint, I'm assuming that you guys are interconnected with property management systems. So like how many connections do you currently have in place?
So initially, we started as a professional services company, right? Finding educated, trained individuals, and we were like matching those individuals with property management companies. Throughout the years, like we pivoted or like added on top of like the legacy product, if you will, which is dedicated team members, where we built our own Tailwind product. And we currently integrate, I don't know the exact count, but Christina and our partnerships team is working very hard like to integrate with a bunch of PMSs as well as the major OTAs. I don't want to name them because like with some of them we're like in the negotiation phases. But we integrate with a lot of major PMSs, and even if we don't have a direct integration, we can pull guest communication straight from Airbnb or Verbo or through email or in text messages. So we can service clients that are on any major short-term rental PMS in the US. Most of our clients are like either on Streamline, Track, Guesty, Hostaway, Hostfully, Lodgify, Hospitable. So we have like a big Escapia and LiveRes legacy clients. Like so, we work with over 200 companies.
And what is the purpose of having the API integration to it? Like, do all the Extenteam agents log into one place and then they can access whoever's PMS that they're working within, or?
Excellent question. So, like, the reason why we decided to build our own product is because a lot of companies want to go up market, right? They want to work with larger companies. In our case, it's the opposite. We already work with like sizable companies that have need for like 5, 10, 20 team members. But as you know, like Alex and Annie, like a big chunk of the portfolio size, a big chunk of the inventory is managed by like smaller operators that are managing less than 20 units. So those operators heard of like how great of a job our team members are doing. They don't necessarily need like a full-time person or 5 or 6 individuals if they need around the clock coverage. So we built the platform so that we can store the policies and how we should handle the guest requests, whether it's like an early check-in request or like an extension request. There are like policies on pets and whatnot. It's all stored in our system. And through the API connections, like a group of team members, hospitality trained team members, can handle multiple accounts at a more affordable rate for smaller operators. So hence the need for the API integrations.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, because even within one property management system where one company puts their policies and procedures or booking rules could be completely different than where another company stores theirs. And sometimes they're in more than one place and sometimes they don't match. They're contradictory, right? So I think for what you've built, that makes perfect sense to keep the information just super organized for those people, that they're not having to go scramble to try and find answers.
Definitely, but I have to like reiterate like the biggest advantage of like the API connections, even if someone has like only 2 listings or 3 listings, they can subscribe to our like guest communication service on a per unit per month subscription basis, where like our team members would be able to pull the reservations data, pull the guest data, everything straight from their PMS. Everything would be visible to them. We would be able to respond to guest communications, whether it's over the phone or through text or OTA messages. It allows us to provide guest communications at an affordable price point to smaller operators. I think that's the gist of it.
I think that's really smart. We at NextPax, we have a system that we've built out to use in Latin America, because a lot of people don't have the connectivity down there, and it's super expensive to use some of the US or legacy PMSs. So the affordability to get them the tools is what's really important to be able to get them into the world of vacation rentals and short-term rentals, and then like just have the tools. I mean, I think that's one thing that I've learned in working with PMs in Mexico is a lot of them have hundreds of units and they're still doing them on ledgers. Like that's how they're manually managing their reservations and how they're doing their check-ins and checkouts and handling all of the operational things, which seems so archaic, but it's too costly for them to do it. So what you guys have done is enable people to access. And I think that's one thing that Alex and I like to talk about is, the education of a newer manager. Like, how do you get them in the system so they learn the proper way to be able to manage and access the information? I was curious for you guys. So you have a lot of your staff that is what US, they would say offshore, so they're not based in the US. But how many organizations are you working with, some property managers that aren't in the US that maybe are like in Europe or in Latin America and Asia? What does that look like for you?
Excellent question. Like a big chunk of our clients are based in the US, right? That's where most of our corporate team members are based in as well. Coincidentally, like we hired our first UK based head of sales who used to work at Rentals United before. Today is his first day. So we're going to be bullish on Europe. Like we only have a handful of employees in Europe. Those are mostly our programmers and engineers. At the moment, I would say that we have like less than 10 clients in the UK and in Europe, but we will be pushing hard like to expand our footprint outside the US as well.
Well, it's super exciting. Super exciting. I mean, really what it is you're allowing these smaller hosts now to be able to operate, on a very professional level, having, the access to staff that can respond to people quickly. And, somebody said this to me the other day, and it's so true. Even having to wait 5 minutes when you need an answer, if you're locked out of a property and you don't know what the door code is, that 5 minutes is absolutely awful. So
Absolutely.
the quickest that, the soon as you can get an answer is, that's just a game changer as far as review scores and, making people feel like they're staying in a safe and professional environment. So I'm sure for the smaller hosts, that is definitely a big help.
100%. And primarily, like we'll be focusing like obviously, like US, Canada, but we want to expand into Europe and potentially Australia and New Zealand. We'll be primarily focusing on English speaking countries as well as Europe.
Very interesting. Now, you guys, it's show season, so people are heading out to all the shows, the PMS shows. Are you guys going to be at VRMA? So if people are interested, they can come by your booth?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I'll be moderating a panel at the Scale Dubai show in 2 weeks. And then I'm hopping back stateside and we'll be at Verma in Phoenix as well. So feel free to swing by at any of our booths. I believe we're doing like a few other shows towards the end of the year as well.
Very cool. Yeah, that's Dubai and Verma. I think they back up to each other pretty close.
Yep.
So that's going to be a whirlwind trip for you getting
Jet
back
lag,
all the way up
yeah.
to Phoenix.
Yeah, I was
That's
able
great.
to use my milestone upgrade. Like that's like a 16-hour flight from Dubai to LA. So
Oh, yeah, you definitely
Wow.
want one you can lay down and take a nap, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're super excited to hear about Tailwind and that is, gotten some wind behind the tails and is moving forward for you guys and doing great. And just it's been fun to track your progress. And as I mentioned earlier, just getting to hear from your customers that we already knew or ones that we didn't know use Extenteam, that it just seems like your name comes up all the time in conversations. So great to see the growth you guys are having, and we'll definitely look forward to seeing you this fall at the shows.
thank you. See you in Phoenix.
Yes. Yeah, we won't be in Dubai,
Absolutely.
unfortunately.
Yeah. Would love to go to Dubai.
Yeah. Ari, if anybody wants to reach out and hear more about Extenteam or chat with you, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Sure. Like people can go to our website, extenteam.com, or if you want to email me personally, Ari, ARI at extenteam.com. I'll be happy to introduce you to the right person at the company.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, if anybody wants to get in touch with Annie and I, you can go to alexandanniepodcast.com. And until next time, thanks everybody.